have you on.
One shot really quick. I got to show this to Francine. Look at the transformation of Luke
wow.
Hawx into Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's great.
Pay no attention to the
hear,
Michael Hayes guy. Look at
Let
Stone
me
Cold.
hear a line. Let me hear one line in your best.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's pretty good.
Hey, you know what's crazy is I didn't even know I could talk like Steve Austin. So, like, this was what was crazy about that. So, CM Punk calls me, and he says, "Hey, Rock's people want your contact info, but I don't want to give." He's like, "I didn't want to tell you that they. I wanted them to surprise you." He goes, "But I don't want to give your contact info out without just giving it out, right?"
Right.
So I'm like, okay, cool. So Punk gives them my number. They reach out to me, and then initially they had reached out to me because Chavo was with AEW at the time, and they didn't know if they were going to have him to finish coordinating Young Rock. So they're like, oh, you know, the other wrestling guy is Luke, so we'll have Luke come in and cover for Chavo. So we had worked all that stuff out. Chavo ends up not having to leave for AEW, and he gets to stay. And then they end up calling me back and saying, hey, well, instead of coordinating, would you like to audition for Austin?
That's great.
And they called my agent. And initially I was like, nah, I don't think, because in my mind, this is how I thought. Out of all the work I've done, I was in Fast and Furious, I was in Logan, I'm in all these major projects. I did, like, I got 15 years of films behind me, hundreds of credits, worked with everybody, been killed by every major star there is, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, you name them, like, they killed me, right? And I've had like good times, right? And awesome experiences. Well, when this project came, it was a, nationally syndicated weekly, television show, which you don't get more big time than that. On NBC, the number one network, right? You don't get, and it was the number one family comedy on television. So I'm thinking they're not going to give it to some jackass like me. They're going to get some guy who went to Juilliard or something, you know what I mean? Like some prestigious acting school, like So I told my agent, I said, nah, I'm not even going to audition for it. And she said, no, I think that's a bad idea. She goes, they called specifically and asked you to audition for it. She goes, I think you should at least audition for it. And I was like, man, I never tried to talk like Steve Austin, but Steve Austin. So, everything about him, I know his mannerisms. I grew up watching him, like he's the best. Right. So I was like, all right, shit, let me give it a little shot. So my son had got suspended from school. And my young son, he was 10. He got suspended from school and for throwing rocks at cars as they were driving by, dummy, right? Being a boy, him and some other boys, they as cars are driving by, they were seeing if they could hit him, So him and some other kids got suspended. So I was like, bro, you about to learn how to shoot an audition. You're 10 years old. You're suspended from school. I need some help right now. We're gonna be productive today, right? So I shoot the Stone Cold audition. And then she calls me back the next day and she says, hey, they want you to do a second one.
Okay.
I was like, nah, man, they playing games, bruh. They playing games. They're making me jump. And this was the other thing too. I had like 3 hours to do it, right? She's like, hey, they want you to shoot a second one and it needs to be turned in by like 6 p.m. or whatever the time it was, right? It's like 3 hours. I'm like, man, I can't learn a script and do all this in 3 hours and like the mannerisms and everything. And I was like, she's like, I think you should at least try it. I was like, well, what is it? And it was the Austin 316 speech.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, I can learn that really quick. You know what I mean? Like I kind of know that already. Like I don't know it, but like the key points. Sure. So I'm like, I could just pull that up on YouTube and watch it and mimic him, So, and I said, look, once I seen my audition, I felt it. I felt it when I did it. And then when I watched it on video with my son doing everything with me and everything, and my voice, I was like, they're not going to get a better audition than me. See? I was like, I just crushed this shit. I crushed it. They're not going to get a better audition. They might get somebody who has more acting experience than me. They might get somebody who looks closer to him than me, but they ain't going to get a better audition than mine. And I was headed to Rob Van Dam and Katie's wedding, and I was getting on a plane to head out there to their wedding, and I got a call from production, and they're like, "Hey, so production went with you as Austin,
That's
you know, and this is going to be a real big deal, and you're going to have to go to Australia for 2 months."
Wow.
So, and you know that was the first time where it was like, I'm always excited when I get a big job. I always love the opportunities, but it's work and I appreciate it. You know what I mean? This was the first time where I was like, holy shit, I just snagged a major role on a major show with the biggest star in the world, and I'm playing his rival. And not only that, most of my acting roles kind of up to, like, you can kind of do whatever you want with them because you're not playing somebody. Now I'm playing somebody, so I have to be specific, and I have to have a talk, and I have to, you know, a mannerism, and I got to shake my head when I talk, and I got to do all these little things, you know. So like I had to really dig deep and bring that character out because I wanted to do Steve justice, you know.
Yeah.
He called me.
Job.
Yeah, he called me, and you know, we talked a little bit before I did the role, and I said, "Hey, I want to make sure that I put I do a good job for you."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Oh, it ain't too hard to fuck me up," you know. So
he's very down to earth. He's very down.
But yeah, it was awesome,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, good for you. See, it was meant to be. You could say no all you want, but it was your role. So
Yeah, it was. It was.
Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video, or click over here to listen to my podcast.